Hi, this is Kerry Artek with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your daily Tesla report for Monday, January 26, 2026. Let's take a look at the chart. Start with this one, and that is the weekly chart. Goes back several years. This really articulates longer-term support and resistance levels, and also a 3 to 5 week sell signal that came into play 4 weeks ago, with the settlement back below the 473.82 level, which is the low of the high on the weekly chart. That is the all-time high. The following week, we gapped below that and continued south. I still see this as a meaningful resistance, not long-term, but one that can contain weekly buying pressures, and still below which 407.16 not out of the question over the coming weeks. But one of the developments late last week was and this is the daily chart, was the settlement back above this 9-month channel bottom and recently formed descending 2 to 3 week channel top in the 441.13 to 445.40 area. This is kind of a zoom in of that. And so we are bullish this week and over the next week or two, back into the low 470s, holding above 445.40, does maintain a buy signal that we're expecting to continue to play out. 458.14 is likely, possibly today, I'd say a Monday, Tuesday test of this 50% upside retracement, but really by the end of next week or sooner, this 473.82 in reach, where if you're long now, and you may be, this buy signal came into play last Thursday. Friday was a rough hold, where our bias is to the upside through this week, above 445.40, 473.82 expected by the end of next week, where we can top out on a weekly basis and perhaps fall away from here. There are other elements that are going on that we will show if we push into the low 470s as anticipated over the next week or two. If we close today above 458.14, I think this week we test 473.82. Within another 1 to 3 days of closing above 458.14, 473.82 in reach, where profits can be taken on a 1 to 2 week swing trade that may have been established last Thursday's close or perhaps on Friday. And you can play the short side here as well. And I'm just talking near term, 3 to 5 days, 1 to 2 weeks perhaps, with bearish rotation possible as we continue into February trade. Now, closing above 473.82, and I don't see that this week, but if over the next few weeks we do.
If you're looking for your daily NVIDIA analysis, you can now find it at wickedstocks.com, where it's part of a full suite of daily analysis videos, including the Daily SPY Report and Daily Triple Q Report. Sign up now and get immediate access so you don't miss a single day.
Then this 533.24 level becomes our next 3 to 5 week target to the upside. And that is a significant 6-year channel top on the weekly chart that can contain buying on a quarterly, possibly annual basis. And I would expect it within roughly 3 to 5 weeks of closing above 473.82. So if you short sell 473.82 on a 2 to 3 week, 3 to 5 week basis, and we close above 473.82, you should just reverse and go long to 533.24. Holding above 407.16 is a 2 to 3 month channel base. This is a long-term base of support that you could say once tested within 3 to 5 months of testing it, 533.24 in reach, or you could merely say that holding above 407.16 maintains a stable to bullish framework as we continue into the second quarter, and closing above 473.82 is kind of the more near-term buy signal inside of that longer-term structure. Now, whether we actually test 407.16 or not, I think comes into play with a settlement today back below 441.13, which is that 9-month channel bottom that actually held in November and held actually a few weeks ago, and it was a gap below this formation. A week ago tomorrow is that Tuesday morning gap, the abbreviated week last week. We came barreling back late in the week to close above all of that. So if we do close back below 441.13, that would also be below last Friday's low, which is the pullback high. You add it all together, a settlement back below 441.13, and I think you really do have to play the bearish side of the equation near term. That is to say, over the next week two at the most, this 404.82 to 407.16 level area would be anticipated. And once again, you've got 407.16 on the weekly chart, same exact structure on the daily chart is 404.82. This area in reach within 1 to 2 weeks of closing back below the 441.13 formation, which is part of a range, once again, that begins at 445.40. So closing below 441.13 is your sign that you can play the short side of the market into later week. I would expect 430.72 within a day. So if we close today, Monday, below 441.13, tomorrow, Tuesday, 430.72, potentially by the end of the week, 412.19, which is just a minor point, but nonetheless the high of the low. And yes, within 1 to 2 weeks of closing below 441.13, and here it is. This is the image here. Closing back below this structure, we're back playing the short side of the market into the low 400s, 404.82 to 407.16, can absorb selling, as I say, on a monthly and even quarterly basis. And from here, we can round up into the 530s, as already shown within 3 to 5 months or sooner. Last thing I'm going to say is that if we do close below 404.82 in the coming weeks, we have a sell signal into the second quarter, possibly through the second quarter, the following 2 to 3 months, then likely to continue south into what is now the 320s and climbing gradually, where we could bottom out into later 26. I'm going to say one more thing, and that is last week, wickedstocks.com put out a stock pick on SMCI, Super Micro. You can see that it's still relevant. You could also see the next next 4 stock picks, because we now offer a 14-day free trial where you can also see our daily NVIDIA analysis every single day for 2 weeks straight, daily Triple Q, daily SPY, our stock picks, all of it for 2 weeks for no cost. Check us out at wickedstocks.com. I'll be back tomorrow, of course, with Tuesday's Tesla. You have a great day.